This story out of light reading is super interesting. I think it gives us insight on the consumer. I think a lot of you, you do a pretty nice job of voicing your opinions and commenting on my videos and letting me know where you stand with certain things. And I think this is one of those instances where people have spoken with their wallets and their reasons for staying with a carrier or switching to another carrier or what type of plans and features you're looking for. It always shows up in the spending. All right, so let's take a look at this topic, and then we'll also look at US Cellular. It doesn't get a lot of run on our channel because it is more regional, but this is important for a lot of you out there that are in areas that they do serve. All right, let's start first with this story, and all links for all of it articles will be in the description. Okay, so what are carriers doing in order to make more money? They are enslaved and indebted to the investors, and those investors, whether they are retail investors, small investors like normal people, or if they're corporate investors and institutional investors, they always have to operate with this concept and mindset. We need to continue to increase revenue, increase profitability. We hear terms thrown around like ARPU, which is average revenue per user, and the companies focus on those metrics. We have to increase service revenue. We have to increase profitability. We have to make more money per customer, deepening customer relationships, adding more services, having customers pay more per service, increasing fees. All those things come into play. So if we're seeing more and more of this, what exactly is the problem here? Why are they so hell bent on doing those things? Why is it just not enough for them to be making more money on this beautiful, wonderful, incredible new 5G networking that they're building? Well, the truth is that they can't really sell 5G as a unique service. If you test the 5G network today, and it doesn't matter if it's from Verizon, AT&T, or T-Mobile, for the most part, they perform only marginally better than LTE. In fact, 5G networks today don't even operate standalone. If you were to remove the LTE component of the network, those networks don't run. They need LTE as the anchor. So because of that, you can't really distinguish yourself as a carrier when they're all performing essentially the same. There are some slight variations in capacity when you look at like T-Mobile, and they've had more time to build out their 5G network with midband 5G UC with N41. But it says here consumers have shown very little interest in switching between providers because of 5G. Nobody is switching to T-Mobile because of 5G. It's probably such a very small number. You may switch because the pricing is better. You may switch because they can offer you some kind of a perk or an added benefit that sweetens the deal, along with it being a little bit cheaper. In fact, you may even switch because one carrier's, towers are failing or customer care dropped the ball in an interaction with you. But it's not because of 5G like 90+% of the time. All right. Meanwhile, wireless operators face a more challenging economic environment, which the consumer is struggling with the impacts of inflation. This is basically saying people are more focused on price, and 5G just isn't even on the radar. All right, so you've got assisted support charges. All right, things that we're seeing at T-Mobile, right? Things that we're seeing at Verizon and AT&T. How much can they raise these little fees, nickel and diming customers before the customer is like, what is going on here? I got to look elsewhere. I think a lot of people continue to look at Charter and Spectrum, Spectrum Mobile, Xfinity Mobile, and joining those services where the fees are the same and the cost of a line hasn't changed. It says here, and this is from Lightshed Analysts, Verizon's price hike might not be enough. In order to reach Verizon's 4% growth target, we estimate it would need to increase the admin fee by $3 every year. And it would continuously be every year. So at one point, by 2026, that fee may be $13.50. All right. That is absurd to continue to see that fee increasing because they wouldn't want to increase plan pricing because it would take them out of their competitive lane with companies like AT&T and Verizon. And of course, they're still running promotions on phones and they have to bite the bullet on those phones as they give people trade-ins on old phones, and giving customers $1,000 to switch and all this other stuff. It's it's a tough business, for them. There's a lot of profit in having a customer, but how do you convert that customer and how do you keep that customer? Because they can take those dollars elsewhere, but they are not going anywhere for 5G. It is probably such a minuscule, tiny number of people that are switching for a 5G network experience at this moment in time. Okay, so interesting article, link in the description. Let's discuss US Cellular here. They reveal their mid-band 5G plan. So some of you may have them or they serve your region and they may be something to consider as an option. US Cellular said last week that it will roll out 5G service using mid-band by the end of 2023. In my experience, US Cellular is a slow-moving company. All right, they're a regional provider. They do not have the capex that the other carriers have. They do not have the juice that the other carriers have, although they do compete and they do build, albeit a little bit slower and to a smaller scale. I wouldn't expect too much from them. So if they're saying end of 2023, I wouldn't expect much action until later on in 2024. Who knows, maybe like Q2 or Q3. It says here that they have been building low band spectrum 5G, and they also have a little bit of millimeter wave they've been testing with, and they've been doing some fixed wireless access stuff for home internet. But they will have to build out a sizable amount of mid-band 5G, putting up antennas and radio gear in order to truly make a more capacitive, uniform experience. So they do have what are called C-band licenses. Anybody who's been around the channel, you know what this is. It is either a 3.7 frequency, 3.7 gigahertz, or 3.45 gigahertz. And in this instance, they did purchase some of these. They won some in the most recent auction. It was the DoD C-band auction, 3.45 gigahertz. And they are going to be using Nokia AirScale equipment for these 5G deployments, the same equipment that AT&T uses. I do not think Verizon is going to be using any of this equipment. And I think we're learning something about Nokia's equipment. I've been testing it for AT&T and it's been pretty good. I've had some issues with Samsung at times. And I think we've also seen some hardware failures because some upgrades have been going up for Verizon and they're not turning them on. I mean, there could be other factors, but I'm just saying, I think in this instance, and I'll talk more about this in the next story, I think this is an instance where Nokia, when it comes to mid-band 5G, their gear might be better than Samsung's. And I think Verizon might have to backtrack. Another story for another day. Anyways, they're going to be using them. And it says here they will be operating a standalone network core and RAN for both low band and millimeter wave 5G. Standalone 5G has a dedicated core, not shared with the LTE core. It says here it will provide lower latency and supported advanced services such as network slicing. And that's what's special about 5G. All the other stuff is for the birds. Goes on to say they'll be using MIMO radios, macro remote radio heads, and AirScale baseband equipment. By the way, all this type of gear, it's going to be integrated. When you see the term AirScale, all right, the radio is going to be built into the encasing that also has the antennas. All right, so when you look up at the tower sites, you'll just see like one box looking thing and it'll have all the gear on it instead of having like separate radio outside of the antenna. 254 of these C-band licenses for US Cellular. They spent 1.2 billion on that spectrum. Let's see, what else did it say here? In the auction, the company successfully bid 580 million to win 380 licenses, covering 97% of its subscribers. So they have most of the area they serve is going to have this. So that's good to see. And they've got a little bit of millimeter wave doing fixed wireless in 10 markets today, and that's supposed to expand. All right, now let's just go ahead and bundle this together. So US Cellular has shunned Samsung with mid-band 5G plans. So this is kind of what I was alluding to before. They're going to work with vendors Ericsson and Nokia. And in 2020, they did say they were going to be working with Samsung. So this indicates that they may be kind of pivoting and moving away from Samsung. And I don't think it discloses it here in the article as to why, but they are only going to go with Nokia and Ericsson. And in my estimation, guys and gals, I actually think this is a good decision. I've been seeing a lot of problems with the Samsung C-band, mid-band gear, radios, antennas for a while. It's been tough sledding. Some sites are great, some sites have problems. There have been some issues that I don't really see happening with Ericsson for Verizon, and I can't comment to AT&T using Samsung because I haven't seen it. They've been using Nokia here. In other parts of the country, they're using Ericsson. T-Mobile's using Nokia and Ericsson. They're not using Samsung. So I don't know what Verizon's decision was to move away from Nokia for the midband. It made sense for the millimeter wave because Nokia's millimeter wave was really bad. Samsung clearly does millimeter wave better than Nokia, but I think US Cellular is making a good move. I think there are some problems associated with Samsung and this mid-band radio gear. I can't really say much other than that, only because I have more testing to do. I have to test the Nokia gear more. I have to test the Samsung gear more. We could get firmware updates and software updates that improve the experience. But if you are in these US Cellular areas, that's what you can expect to see. Those are some possible reasons as to why and what you can expect moving forward. So comment down below, US Cellular shunning Samsung for their midband build out, what they're doing with their midband build out, and then also how 5G providers nickel and diming their way to growth in a mature market. They're just hitting people with fees and they're not able to generate revenue specifically on their 5G networks. Go ahead and comment down below. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard. Thank you for watching. Like, share, subscribe. Turn on the bell notifications to never miss an upload. Links in the description for my Twitter and my Patreon page. Support us there. Get early access to content and exclusive videos not found anywhere else. Also, for business inquiries, send it over to the Gmail address in the description. Thank you for watching. See you on the next one. Peace.